So now that we defined factorials, we can look at that definition. Remember, a factorial is the multiplication of that number in the factorial times every integer less than that number, all of them, not just some of them, until we get down to 1. So in this case, 6 factorial is 720. This begs some questions about the definitions. For example, it looks like we can only take factorials of whole numbers. Because if you're going down to 1, how would you do -2 factorial? Does it exist? Turns out that one doesn't. Some of them do exist. 0 factorial was originally just defined by mathematicians to be 1. It seems completely arbitrary at this stage. 0 is less than 1, so it would be undefined, or maybe you'd think you'd start with 0 and multiply to 1. So why is it actually equal to 1? Originally, it was just a choice they made for convenience. As we get into definitions of permutations, and then in our next lesson, combinations, we will see why that makes for a consistent system. So it was really just, previously they were saying, oh, it's 1 just because it has to be. In the long run, and when I say long run, I mean way past the end of high school, you can actually find that n factorial is a perfect fit for a particular function. And this is something that you will need a lot of calculus to do. But if you go through calculus, you will find this equation not even remotely close to being Math 30-1 content. But this integral, what we're doing is adding up the area that's between that curve and the x-axis. It happens to be a perfect fit for all the values of n factorial that are defined. Using this one, well, we can also define a 0 factorial as 1, and we can actually define any factorial except for negative whole numbers. Some calculators do factorials this way. So if you do 1.5 factorial, those that use the definition above of multiplying integers are going to choke because it's a fraction. Others will do it without a problem. So, all that this curriculum requires you to know in Math 30-1 is that 0 factorial is 1. I just included that extra bit that comes from calculus because, personally, I find it very difficult to remember things that seem completely arbitrary. I need to know what the reason is, or at least that there is one. There is a reason. We do have that calculus that makes this make sense. It's going to be a long time before we know how to do it. So for now, just accept 0 factorial is 1.